pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this exciting and inspiring event, our public speaking competition, held as part of the 2025 Public Service Week of Activities. This afternoon, we celebrate not only the spirit of friendly competition, but also the power of voice, conviction, and communication. Public speaking remains one of the most essential tools of leadership, and today we have the distinct honor of hearing from 5 bright minds, each representing 5 different ministries or departments within the public service. This event is more than just a contest. It's a platform, a stage on which emerging voices can express ideas, articulate perspectives, and spark meaningful dialogue around our theme, Disaster Ready, a public service commitment to resilience. However, this afternoon, the main topic of debate would be disaster risk mitigation is extremely challenging and perhaps an impossible notion for small island states. This theme reminds us that resilience and risk mitigation is a shared responsibility. Whether in emergency response, policy implementations, logistics, education, or community engagement, every ministry, every individual has a role to play. And our participants today reflect that collective strength drawn from across the service. We applaud their courage and preparation, and we are reminded that the future of the public service lies not only in experience, but in expression, in those who can inspire, advocate, and lead with clarity and purpose. To our judges, thank you for your time and thoughtful assessment. To the organizers, thank you for coordinating this enriching event. To our audience, thank you for being here to support and encourage the next generation of public service voices. And to our participants, we salute you. You are already winners for standing here and using your voices to shape the dialogue around resilience, service, and nation building. On behalf of the Ministry of the Public Service, I officially welcome you to this event. Let the competition begin, and may we all be inspired. Thank you.
Thank you, Permanent Secretary DeFreitas. Okay, we're ready for the business end of things now. I want to give an overview of the competition. But first, let me just say who the competitors are, not that you don't know them. Mr. Keith O'Neill from the Audit Office. That's good, that's good. Mr. Keanu Providence, Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology. All right, trying to over. Okay, that's good, that's good. Ms. Shernell Hathaway, Ministry of Legal Affairs. Getting louder, that's what we want. Ms. Swelleen David, Ministry. Okay, well, Ms. Swelleen Davis from the Ministry of National Mobilization, Social Development, Family, Gender Affairs, and Persons with Disabilities. Ooh, again. Okay, good. All right. And last but not least, Miss, I don't want to butcher this name, Achisia Sam. Did I get that right? Achisia. Achisia? I think we're covered with the name, right? So thank you very much. From the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development, and Culture, Miss Sam. All right, all right. That's good, that's good. I like the atmosphere so far. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to, like I said, go through the rules and regulations. Then I'm going to introduce the judges and so forth and so on. So we're good? All right. So rules. Oh. The 7 rules. Number 1, and pay attention now because we want to make sure that we understand what we're shouting for and so on. The judges already have a hard task ahead. 1, each speaker shall deliver on 3 sections: a creative wear/costume, 1 prepared speech, and an impromptu speech. Good. 2, each speaker is required to display their creative wear/costume for no more than 3 minutes to allow for judging, upon which they go straight into the prepared speech. So you finish after 3 minutes, you come up here, prepared speech. Each speaker gets 1 minute to compose themselves for the next category, which is the prepared speech. All right, so you finished with your costume and so forth. You come up here, gather yourself for a minute, take a breather, and then you'll hear bell. You'll hear bell before the 1 minute starts, and then you'll hear a second bell after the 1 minute. And then we start. We're good so far? All right, good. For the main speech, each speaker shall speak for a period not exceeding 7 minutes. For the impromptu speech, each speaker shall have 1 minute to consider the topic and no more than 2 minutes to present his or her topic. Now, I must say from last year, and I have to remind the speakers, they get the topic and they go straight into it. Some of them did. But just to remember, you have 1 minute, think about it, and then roll. All right? And you will remind them that they have 1 minute. Good. Number 5, any speaker who utilizes less than 5 minutes of the allocated time for the main prepared speech shall have 5 points deducted from his or her total score. So the sweet spot, 5 to 7 minutes. Number 6, speakers could refer to prepared notes from which they can deliver their presentation. All right? Number 7, for the main prepared speech, speakers not engaged in delivering their speeches should be absent from the room at the time the speech is being delivered, unless he or she has already delivered his or her speech. That goes without saying. You don't want script. All right? Now, the topic. I think the PS mentioned the topic earlier on, but I'll just go through them. Well, the topic for the main speech, disaster risk mitigation is extremely challenging and perhaps an impossible notion for a small island state. Ms. Forbes, that's true? Anyhow, don't say anything. The impromptu is impromptu, so they'll select when they come up. The creative wear, put your creatively sustainable development goal number 13, which is climate action. Let me repeat that. For the creative wear, you portray creatively sustainable development goal number 13, climate action. Take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. All right, so we're good so far. Now let me explain the prizes, and then I'll go through the rules. All right? Prizes are decent, very decent. Kind of jealous, actually. List of prizes. The category winners. Creative wear, $600. I want to thank the Bank of SVG and Graves. Wait, $600 plus $300 from Graves and Massa. Wow. For the main speech, another $600. We're over Grande. Ooh. For the Bank of SVG. Plus a fire extinguisher. That's a good one for the disaster season. From Jarek and Massa. And for the impromptu speech, another $600. There's more than gas change, boy. from the Bank of SVG again, plus $300 from, ooh, I'm trying to remember, not Secret Graves. Secret Graves was mentioned already. From Mr. Sinclair Stapleton, Massa. I was supposed to introduce you. QuickBooks, Mr. QuickBooks. Sinclair Stapleton. We hear him all the time on the radio. A man of many talents. The overall winner. Ooh. Along with the almost $2,000 change, or more than $2,000 change, you have one laptop from the NTRC. I believe it's a very decent laptop. I haven't seen it. Well, coming from the NTRC, must be a pretty good laptop. Second place, one mobile phone from Flow. I can't tell you what type of mobile phone it is, but it's one mobile phone from Flow. Third place, one mobile phone again from Flow. The second, a phone. Third, a phone. Plus, obviously, you have the category winners. And a parent's fee, because it takes a lot to come up, It really does. For all competitors, $250. $250. All right. I want you to ensure that you keep this energy because, like I said, it takes a certain degree of tenacity and vigor to come up and do all this. I want to also mention the sponsors without whom, obviously, this would not have been possible. Once I can find a list, which I think is right here. Right, the list of sponsors. The Lions Club St. Vincent South. That's one. That's good, that's good. Round of applause, that's good. Bank of SVG. Bank rolling this stuff. The NTRC, Flow. Massa, Jarek St. Vincent Limited. Toastmaster Club St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Jack's Enterprise Limited. CK Graves and Company Limited. CK East Caribbean Group of Companies. NEMO, of course. Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. The European Union. National Disaster Facility in the CARIFORUM Program. And BDO. But who's the marketing official? I want to hire them for what? There's a lot of sponsors, but we have to be very grateful for the sponsors. So we thank you guys for coming on board. Certainly the Ministry of the Public Service doing good things with getting or attracting these sponsors. It's good to see that they are fulfilling their corporate responsibilities and those obviously in the public sector adding to that. Now, the scoring. Before I get to the scoring, the timekeeping obviously will be done. We mentioned the two ladies here doing this timekeeping. The first bell for the creative costume wear. You'll hear first bell to tell participants present their costume wear. And the second bell at 3 minutes. So first bell, present your costume wear, come in, do your stuff. And the second bell at 3 minutes. We good? All right, good. For the main speech, first bell when participants when participant takes this podium and ready to present. A second bell at 5 minutes, not the end, at 5 minutes. And then a third and final bell at 7 minutes. All right? For the impromptu speech, a first bell when the participant takes the podium after selecting his or her topic. That's when you have the 1 minute duration. A second bell at the end of 1 minute. Participants begin. A third and final bell at the end of the 3rd minute. Total time spent on the podium. Okay, well, all right, good. This is how it's going to be judged. For the creative wear, the craftsmanship, a total of 20 points, sorry. Craftsmanship, 6 out of 20. craftsmanship. Relation to theme, 4 points, 4 out of 20. Creativity, another 6. Portability and presentation, 4. So craftsmanship, 6. Relation to theme, 4. Creativity, 6. Portability / presentation, 4. Total of 20 points. All right? The main topic, bit lengthy. This will be allocated 50 points. So the impromptu, the creative were 20, main topic 50 points. Material out of 20. All right? So looking at material, looking at things, does the speaker catch your immediate interest? Are his or her ideas thought-provoking? Are they clearly organized? Has the material been carefully prepared and researched? Is the conclusion effective? That's out of 20. That's material. All right, I'm clear, right? Okay, good. The manner, that's out of 10. So they'll be looking at, is he or she aware of the audience? Is he or she poised? Does he or she have distracting mannerisms? Are his or her gestures natural or sincere? That's manner. That's out of 10. All right? Language now. Language is out of 10. Is he or her vocabulary adequate and imaginative, or is it slangy or dull? Does his or her speech flow easily? Are there awkward hesitations? That's language. That's out of 10. And the final one out of voice, which is voice, sorry, is out of 10 again. Is his or her voice monotonous? Does he or she vary his or her voice? Is he or she easily heard? Is his or her voice agreeable? That's out of 10. So the total, 50 points. That's the total. That's for the main speech. All right? We're good? Good. The impromptu, 30 points. All right? And it's broken down as follows. Basically the same as the main speech from what I'm seeing here. But obviously, the material will be judged. The material, you want me to go over it again? The material? Are we good? Okay. Material, 10 points. Manner, 10 points. Language, 5. All right. I get where you're coming from. We need to see the participants. So, thank you very much. All right. Now, let me just introduce the judges. It's very important. Oh. Even though I don't think the judges need much introduction, given who they are. First, Mr. Brenton Kane. He's a retired Coast Guard commander. Began his professional journey as a teacher, serving in the classroom for 4 years before embarking on a distinguished 36-year career with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Coast Guard. For the final 15 years of his service, from 2007 until his retirement in 2022, he held the esteemed position of Coast Guard Commander. Throughout his career, Commander Kane played a pivotal role in regional maritime security. He served as an instructor on the Regional Security System Basic Seamanship course in Barbados, and later as a training officer at the RSS Training Unit in Antigua for 2 years. His expertise also earned him a spot as a presenter at a workshop organized by the U.S. National Defense University in Jamaica. Domestically, he held key roles as operations officer of the Coast Guard and served as commanding officer of 2 major vessels, the 75-foot George Washington and the 120-foot Captain Hugh Mulzac. He holds a master's degree in national security and strategic studies from the University of the West Indies, Jamaica, a testament to his deep commitment to national and regional security, and also importantly, an avid cricket fan. Mr. Brenton Kane. Thank you. Next, you have Mr. Elroy John, who's retired. Currently, residing in Annisvale, is the sixth of 9 children, 7 boys and 2 girls, born to the late Fred and Lucille John of Bayabu. He received his early education at the Bayabu Methodist Primary School before attending the Boys Grammar School. Mr. John began his distinguished banking career in May 1975, wow, with Barclays Bank International Limited, later continuing with CIBC First Caribbean following the 2002 merger of the two institutions. He served in the industry for over 38 years, retiring in December 2013 as head of corporate banking and country head. In recognition of his outstanding contribution to the sector, he was awarded the OBE, in the 2014 New Year's Honors. In late 2015, Mr. John came out of retirement to serve as CEO of the St. Vincent Building and Loan Association, a role he held until his final retirement in April 2005. I should say final, right? 2025, sorry. He has been a long-standing member of the Board of Directors of the National Insurance Services since April 2001, deeply committed to community service. That's why he's here as well. He has also been a member of the Lions Club St. Vincent South since 2004 and is a proud recipient of the Melvin Jones Fellowship Award for his contributions. A passionate cricket enthusiast, Elroy represented the Boys Grammar School in the National Second Division and was a founding member of the Bible Wanderers cricket team. He is married and proud father of 2 children. His leisure time, he enjoys socializing, especially river and beach cook-ups. Mr. John, well done, brother. And finally, we have someone I think we all know very well. Miss Michelle Forbes is a disaster risk management specialist with over 20 years of experience. I should say over 2 decades of experience. She has an extensive background in disaster risk management, policy, community-based disaster management, emergency operations, and managing cross-functional operations and projects. Ms. Forbes joined the staff of the National Emergency Management Organization on the 1st of December 2004 and currently serves as the director. Ms. Forbes has led the coordination and response to several hazards impact, including Hurricane Beryl, the La Sofia volcano eruption in 2021, Hurricane Elsa in 2021, the COVID-19 pandemic, Hurricane Thomas in 2010, and the April 2011 floods in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The area of public policy governing disaster risk management is one of Ms. Forbes' focus, and she says that public policies must adapt to the changing environment and seek to build resilience at all levels, the community, national and regional levels. Ms. Forbes holds a Bachelor of Science in International Disaster Engineering, Management from Coventry University in the United Kingdom, a Master's in Public Administration, and a Graduate Certificate in Disaster Management from Georgia State University, Atlanta, and a PhD in Realism. All right, that was the judges. So now we move on. Thank you. All right, now we move on to the business end of things. Timekeepers, are we good? Okay. Now, the order at the back, are we good? We're not good? What's the issue? The competition is going to start now, right? So we should be good. Right, in order of appearance is going to be Miss Sam. We ready, Mrs. Jackson? So we're going to hear a bell, right? Mrs. Jackson, can we just get a signal so we can ring the bell?
Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 13, Climate Action. This costume portrays climate action and the importance of readiness in making the necessary changes to protect our planet. In this depiction, Delegate number 1, Miss Ashicia Sam, has taken comparative action to make that change to climate change mitigation. Climate action is all about creating a low-carbon climate resilient world by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and investing in renewable energy, which our headpiece and handpiece portray, solar panels, where she intends to reduce her carbon footprints to further mitigate the impact on our marine environment and promote a healthier reef and ecosystem where the marine lives thrive, as she just strives for this. Through this innovative solution and our design, Ashisha tackles the issue of sargassum in our marine areas, where the knowledge she now shares and best practices she intends to employ to take action. In this creative way, Delegate number 1, Ashicia Sam, manipulates the comparative left-right perspective, where left is woefully wrong with the pollutants, the deforestation, the sargassum, the parched lands, the harmful effects, whilst the right is applaudably just, fair, correct, and accepted as right, as it emboldens, strengthens, stimulates SDG 13, climate action, with the right and ideal ecosystem where we clean up and make use of eco-friendly colors, the blue and the green, to create a blooming life for Mother Earth. The ladybugs, the bees, the butterflies, coral reefs, the fishes, as she replenishes the marine life. Ashicia makes that change through climate action. With her keywords, climate action. Delegate number 1, Miss Ashicia Sam, from the Department of Culture in the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture. Her creative portrayal, climate action.
The contestant is expected to come straight here, where you will have 1 minute to compose yourself. I think somebody, Mrs. Jackson, I think you have to remind the contestant that she has 1 minute in which to begin her main speech. And that 1 minute has already started.
Ms. Catherine De Freitas, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, other permanent secretaries, and heads of departments, civil servants, Lion Sharon Williams, Membership Chair, Sue Mona Moses, judges, sponsors, participants, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Disaster risk mitigation is not a concept. For us as islanders, it is a matter of life and death. It is a question of survival. Today I speak not just for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but for all small island developing states, SIDs. We often hear that disaster risk mitigation is too difficult, perhaps even impossible for us. I challenge that notion. Not only is it possible, it is already happening. And with the right tools, partnerships, and political will, it is essential and achievable. When we speak of disaster risk mitigation, we're referring to measures aimed at reducing loss of life, livelihoods, damage to property, and the environment should a hazard occur. We're not here to deny the realities of our vulnerabilities. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, like many of our neighbors, faces hurricanes, floods, landslides, and volcanic eruptions. We are among the least responsible for global emissions. According to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, we contribute less than 1%, but we suffer the most. A single storm can wipe out 30% of our GDP overnight. In 2021, the eruption of La Soufrière displaced over 20,000 people, nearly 20% of our population. Already reeling from the pandemic, we suffered major damage to agriculture, tourism, infrastructure, and water systems. We are vulnerable. But vulnerability is not weakness, and the challenge is not insurmountable. Is it impossible to improve early warning systems, to build stronger infrastructure, to prepare our communities and plan smarter? No, it is not impossible. It is necessary. The idea that we are powerless is dangerous. It discourages investment and encourages fatalism. But we are far from powerless. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we've strengthened our National Emergency Management Organization, developed a national adaptation plan, and integrated disaster risk reduction into schools and local government. From teachers to taxi drivers, ordinary citizens are being trained to respond to crises. Our protocols for evacuation and shelter management are working. Disaster risk mitigation isn't just policy, it's action, education, and daily coordination. For example, when La Soufrière erupted, over 20,000 people were evacuated within days. There were no direct fatalities, none. Shelters opened quickly. International partners responded. That was no accident. It was the result of years of preparation, early warning systems, hazard mapping, and strong local leadership. Since then, we've gone further, retrofitting schools and centers as disaster-resilient shelters, investing in geospatial data to improve risk mapping, embedding disaster education from primary schools to vocational programs, This is what resilience looks like. We are not alone. Through CARICOM and SEDEMA, Caribbean nations conduct joint training, share resources, and build regional warning systems. From Vanuatu to Dominica, small island states are learning from one another. We're not just adapting, we're leading with innovation, and we're speaking with one voice at the UN, at COP, and in SID conferences, calling not only for recognition, but for the tools to act. Yes, finance is a major barrier. Adapting to climate change may cost us up to 20% of national income annually. SIDs have limited fiscal space and high debt, but that does not exclude slow or complex financing mechanisms. We need faster, more accessible adaptation funding, simplified approval and reporting processes. Long-term support for capacity building, infrastructure, and data systems. We are ready to act, but we need our partners to meet us with trust, flexibility, and commitment. What have we learned? Local knowledge is critical. Disaster risk must be integrated into all sectors, such as health, tourism, and education. Nature is an ally. Mangroves, coral reefs, and green infrastructure are sustainable defenses. Data saves lives. Investments in risk assessments and early warning systems are non-negotiable. Looking ahead, we are focusing on climate resilient housing, slope stabilization and drainage, blue economy strategies for sustainable growth, empowering youth and women as leaders of resilience. To those who say disaster risk mitigation is impossible for small island developing states, I say, come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Come see the shelters rebuilt after ashfall. Visit the farmers using climate-smart practices. Talk to the teachers building the next generation of disaster responders. We're not asking for sympathy. We're demanding fairness and offering innovation, leadership, and resilience in return. Let us not confuse vulnerability with weakness, nor challenge with defeat. The road is hard, but it is possible, and together we will walk it. I thank you.
Thank you, Miss Sam. I'm not even going to try to call your first name. Miss Sam? This side. Yeah, right here. Well done. So we're going to move quickly ahead. But before I do that, I just want to be sure that everybody understands the rule, right? You're going to get, not the rule, the bell part, because I don't want any misinterpretation. The first bell, when the participant comes in to do the costume and wear, a second bell after 3 minutes, right? Second bell. The third bell now is when and that comes after 1 minute, is when the participant has to begin the presentation. The third bell. 1 minute between the second and the third bell. And then you have another bell, the fourth bell will ring after the end of 5 minutes. And the final bell, the fifth and final bell, after the end of 7 minutes. All right? Good. Ready for the next one? Please welcome Mr. Keith O'Neill from the Audit Department.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet our hero, Captain Audit, the fearless guardian of accountability for the climate. He doesn't wear a mask or fly through the sky, but he carries a magnifying glass, calculator, and green pen, and vigilantly scopes the environment. The magnifying glass, calculator, and the green pen, reserved for use by the audit office, signifies scrutiny. The green color of the cape is a symbol of environmental justice and a bold stand for climate action. At the center of the cape, we see planet Earth surrounded by symbols of renewable energy, recycling, and solar power, solutions that the audit office must protect and promote through rigorous oversight and monitoring. To the left, the red strike-through symbol conveys a loud and clear message: say no to single-use plastic. To the right, the eye of the hurricane serves as a reminder of the intensifying storms, floods, and disasters attributable to climate change. Just beneath the words for the climate are two trees standing as powerful symbols of resilience and adaptation under SDG 13 and nature's vital role in climate action. Their expressions on the cape reminds us that accountability also includes safeguarding our ecosystems, because without trees, we lose one of our strongest allies in the fight for stable and sustainable climate. Nestled beneath the trees is a greenhouse which represents innovation, agriculture, and the potential for greener economies if managed responsibly. The base is adorned with the famous greening pens, yes, which are used to verify accuracy of information. And yes, those are $100 bills beside the pens, as a warning that for each audit recommendation that is ignored or not implemented, we can potentially lose or save millions of dollars. Non-compliance leads to environmental degradation, climate chaos, and ultimately economic loss. Captain Audit does not only verify numbers, he also determines whether funds allocated for climate adaptation and environmental resilience are spent with due regard for economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. He holds everyone accountable, as climate action is a shared responsibility. So when you see Captain Audit decked in his green vibrant cape, remember, behind every act of climate resilience lies accountability. And behind the trail of every climate resilience audit is a dedicated audit warrior, helping to make it happen all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Audit, for the climate, for the people, for the future. That's the bell at the end of 3 minutes?
Yeah, yeah. So she has 1 minute.
No, this is it.
Thank you. Ms. Catherine De Freitas, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, other Permanent Secretaries and Heads of Departments, Civil Servants, Lion Sharon Williams, Membership Chair, Lion Sumona Moses, judges, sponsors, participants, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. There was a time when Vincentians behaved as if we were immune to natural disasters. We ignore warnings as hurricanes move to the north and south of our nation. Near misses made us believe in our own invulnerability. Then came the disastrous flood of December 2013. Do you recall the frightening scenes of the volcanic eruptions in 2021 in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the devastation caused by the Hurricane Beryl in 2024? These events rocked our nation to the core, but brought us back to a sense of reality that disasters can happen at any time, so we must be prepared. Disaster risk mitigation, as defined by the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, is the use of policies and strategies aimed at preventing, reducing, and managing disaster risk. This hurricane season, many islands will be bombarded by nature's elements, prompting local emergency management agencies to urge preparedness. Small islands face extraordinary challenges in disaster risk mitigation. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, speaking before the United Nations General Assembly, noted the general disinterest in the well-being of small island states by the larger global community, who, as he noted, are driven primarily by financial gain. He noted that small islands like ours face significant challenges likened to a person who is walking up a down escalator while taking baby steps. However, while small islands like ours face significant challenges, I do not believe that these challenges are insurmountable. Successes have been achieved through international collaboration, community-driven strategies, technological innovation, and robust governance mechanisms. Yes, I agree that disaster risk mitigation is extremely challenging. However, I disagree with the notion that it's impossible for small island development states, as this is a direct disregard for the success stories, the partnerships, and to the role that proper accountability can make in risk mitigation. We are not alone in disaster risk mitigation efforts. Global frameworks such as the Green Climate Fund aids in disaster risk mitigation, providing financing for multi-hazard early warning systems. Regional agencies such as the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency also provides funding, technical expertise, and capacity building support. Partnerships like these strengthen mitigation efforts. Local communities and traditional knowledge must also play a role in disaster mitigation. In Fiji, traditional practices such as replanting mangroves to buffer storm surges and building houses that take wind direction into consideration also improves resilience. Community-based disaster risk mitigation efforts empower citizens not just to wait on governments and act, but to lead, to preserve ecosystems, and to construct resilient housing. This grassroots type of action does not only ensure sustainability, but cultural relevance while enhancing mitigation outcomes. Advances in technology also improves the chance of success in disaster risk mitigation. Satellite monitoring provides critical early warning data for systems that aid in disaster risk preparedness and post-disaster responses. AI-driven tools and mobile alert systems also help to predict disasters and prompt swift responses. The timely evacuation effort before the 2021 eruption are testament to these tools. Such innovations prove that modest investments can yield significant risk reduction. So please, ladies and gentlemen, remember not to damage and remove volcanic monitoring equipment. Pivotal to ensuring that disaster funds are well managed, transparent, and effective are robust accountability mechanisms such as government audit departments. You see, when finance disperses the funds, audit holds them to account. When mobilization implements policies, audit scrutinizes performance. When legal affairs drafts contracts, audit reviews. And when tourism advertises our nation's beauty to the world, Captain Audit stands as a beacon and a guardian of accountability. The aim of audit is not simply to measure conduct, but to shape and transform environments into accountable institutions and practices. Through performance audit, we ensure that funds are allocated efficiently, policies are implemented effectively, and corruption is minimized. Haiti's post-earthquake audits expose mismanagement, prompting reforms. And Jamaica's audit findings contributed to improvements in school retrofitting programs that serve as hurricane shelters. Audit officers must never be seen as reactive watchdogs, but as proactive partners in building national resilience strategies. A study by the US Department of Commerce found that for every $1 spent on climate resilience and preparedness, communities save $13 in damage, cleanup costs, and community economic impact. Disaster risk mitigation in small island states is undeniably challenging, but far from impossible. Barbados is investing $40 million to improve its water resilience strategy in times of worsening drought. And Dominica has boldly set a target to become the world's first climate resilient nation by 2030. Through international solidarity, community agency, technological tools, and rigorous governments, we can create a viable path towards greater and more effective risk mitigation efforts. By dismissing mitigation as impossible, it ignores the ingenuity and the collaboration already driving progress in many small island nations. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not at any time take for granted. Let us not any time take for granted in the face of disaster, but let us be reminded that for our small island states, resilience is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Mr. Keith O'Neill from the Audit Office. Thank you, Keith. I know this hasn't happened, but I just want to remind everyone to ensure that your cell phones, just in case it rings, is on vibrate, because it's kind of off-putting whenever you're speaking and that happens. So that's just a plug I wanted to mention. We're ready for the next contestant. Next contestant is going to be Mr. Keanu Providence of the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning, and Information Technology. Judges, are you ready?
From ashes to action, a walk through climate realities. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to witness a walk not of fashion alone, but of purpose, policy, and power. This is a living, breathing message, a bold expression of how one nation dares to turn its climate scars into strategies. The back of the court, where earth partially shaded in brown, reveals the burnt wounds of environmental neglect. This is a world wounded by our actions, by rising temperatures, reckless pollution, and a lack of accountability. A direct symbol of laissez-faire, whose eruption silenced streets, darkened skies, and reminded us of all our nature's unmatched power. And just below, the sea washes in not with life, but with sagacium, plastics, and garbage that refuse to decompose. These visuals show how our waste chokes marine life and suffocates our coastline. A thermometer, boldly displayed, measures the rising heat, not just of the planet, but of public pressure and policy urgency. Now as he turns, the front of the court brings a shift in tone, from devastation to determination. On the left arm flap, the emblem of SDG 4, quality education, reminds us that knowledge is climate defense. The right arm flap bears SDG 30, climate action, along with the Ministry of Finance's insignia, representing the financial backbone that transforms policy into possibility. Here is a chaotic yet compelling mosaic. Rising sea levels, floating plastic, and toy cars. Yes, toy cars. These tiny vehicles symbolize a big national policy shift. The carbon emission ban placed on all vehicles older than 12 years. A bold move to cut back on outdated imports. This is a climate policy stitched into fabric, strategy translated into fashion. Let's now turn our attentions to his outfit, Neil. On the back of the shirt, we see the 2019 Bill on the Environmental Health Control of Disposable Plastics, a law enforced with the help of the Customs Department, reducing plastic imports and encouraging citizen awareness and sustainable choices. On the back, symbols of recycling and sustainability shows how the ministry's climate action policies are not just words but ongoing commitments. The front pocket of the pants represents a tireless role of the Customs and Excise Department, processing relief supplies and regulating trade in time of disaster. The hem of the pants, the bridge, showing across the front, signifying infrastructure, built not just in concrete but in foresight. The color depicts the waves symbolizing sea defenses and the rising tide, hugging our shores and warning us to protect what remains. The sleeves is lined with currency, representing the Treasury Department, where funds are mobilized, contractors are paid, and resilience is financed. Suspending it all, green cables draped across the shoulders like suspenders. These represent our digital and interagency communication system, connecting every department, every plan, and every choice in the climate conversation. And to ground it all, the hat, a breath of fresh air, symbolizing the future we strive for, one where our ecosystems are protected, our energy is clean and sustainable, and our oceans thrive. Perch atop, you'll see the icons of resilience, satellite houses, wind turbines, and solar panels, each a beacon of our commitment to combat climate change and build a brighter, greener tomorrow. This is more than clothing. It is a movement. It is the Ministry of Finance's Climate Action Plan, told in thread, texture, and truth. This is a story of ashes turned into action, of a nation learning from its past action into its present and fighting for its future. So as Keanu rides away with clean mobile energy, we invite you to ride too. Ride with awareness, ride with ambition, ride with climate justice, stitched into our soul. We are the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning, and Information Technology. I thank you.
Ms. Catherine De Freitas, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Public Service. Other permanent secretaries and heads of department. Civil servants. Lion Sharon Williams, Membership Chair. Lion Sue Mona Moses. Judges. Sponsors. Participants. Members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, my speech is entitled From Vulnerability to Viability, Rethinking Disaster Risk in Small Island States. It can be said, when disaster strikes, the Caribbean bleeds. But for small island nations like ours, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we don't just bleed, we hemorrhage, economically, socially, and environmentally. So the statement before us today, disaster risk mitigation is extremely challenging and perhaps an impossible notion for small island states, is not just a topic, it's our lived reality. But I stand before you today to say boldly, it is challenging, yes, but impossible? Absolutely not. Not if we act decisively, not if we rethink the systems we rely on. I will now go into some of the important considerations for our response to disaster risk. Firstly, addressing the harsh truth, why it is so challenging. Let's be honest, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is on the front of climate change. We contribute less than 0.01% of global emissions, yet suffer 100% of the fallouts, with rising sea levels, extreme hurricanes, as recent as last year with Category 5 Hurricane Beryl, eroded coastlines, and yes, the 2021 La Soufrière eruption, costing us over 50% of our GDP. So when we speak about disaster risk mitigation, we are talking about survival. Secondly, the role of the Ministry of Finance, the engine of our national resilience. The Ministry of Finance is more than a purse holder. You see, disaster risk mitigation involves climate financing, contingency planning, infrastructure investment, and insurance arrangements. Under this ministry, multiple departments contribute, which include the Economic Planning Division, which supports national climate policies and adaptation planning, and implement projects for critical infrastructure, like the Green Hill and Mount Young bridges, vital evacuation routes, sea defenses in Georgetown and Santosi, and countrywide satellite warehouses for disaster response. The Information Technology Services Division is essential for early warning systems and disaster communication networks. The Customs Department facilitates the swift clearing of relief supplies and green technologies. During emergencies, the Customs Department enables duty-free entry of water tanks, shelter materials, and the solar kits, all while safeguarding revenue. The Treasury Department ensures the timely disbursement of emergency funds to pay contractors, first responders, and repair crews. The Inland Revenue Department provides fiscal space by improving domestic resource mobilization, because climate action must be funded both externally and internally. And in partnership with the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, equipment, training, and logistics are financed for faster disaster response, because resilience must be operational, not just theoretical. But let's be honest, every dollar counts. When we must choose between building a school or reinforcing a flood-prone bridge, both are critical, and the limits of fiscal space becomes painfully real. Thirdly, our roadmap, the National Economic and Social Development Plan, Goal 4, and the Sustainable Development Goal 13, Climate Action. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines does have a plan. Goal 4 of the National Economic and Social Development Plan calls for improving infrastructure, preserving the environment, and building resilience. This aligns with the Sustainable Development Goal 13, Climate Action, which urges us to integrate climate measures in all policies, strengthen resilience, and mobilize climate finance. And we've made progress with the National Adaptation Plan, engagements in the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, and disaster resilient infrastructure. But we must go further. Fourthly, from helplessness to hope, what must we do? 1, climate resilient budgeting. Every budget must now be a national budget. Every budget must be embedded resilience into spending, from agriculture to housing to health. 2, access more climate finance. We must skillfully tap into green climate funds, adaptation funds, bilateral and multilateral grants. This means training more officers, both public and private, to write stronger proposals, negotiate better terms, and speak louder on the global stage. And 3, public-private partnerships. Resilience is not just the government's job alone. The private sector must invest in renewable energy, smart building practices, and ecotourism. Let's inspire them. Finally, the closing truth. Impossible is not a policy. Impossible is not a strategy. It is a mindset. And in the Ministry of Finance and across the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we cannot afford that mindset. We are small, yes, but small is not powerless. Small is agile. Small is resilient. Small is mighty when united with purpose. Let us not wait for the next hurricane, the next landslide, or the next eruption to wake us up. Let us turn every risk into resilience and every disaster into an opportunity. Disaster risk mitigation is not impossible. It is essential. It is urgent. It is achievable. And may we never stop or tire in building a safer, stronger, more united St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Providence. Going well so far. Just waiting on a signal that the other contestant is ready. Miss Swaylene David is going to be the other contestant from the Ministry of National Mobilization, Social Development, Family, Gender Affairs, and Persons with Disability. Oh, yeah. All right. So when the bell goes,
good afternoon, everyone. The United Nations has 17 Sustainable Development Goals, of which climate action is number 13. This goal states precisely that urgent action needs to be taken to combat climate change and its impact. Today, we present Ms. Swaylene David, our representative from the Ministry of National Mobilization. The floral bodice of the dress represents the natural, perfect Mother Earth handed down by the Creator. In its perfect state, it reflects the glory of the largest star in the solar system, the sun, before man became anthropogenic and nature acted against itself. The back of the bodice, however, portrays explicitly some of the effects climate change can have on the environment, including rising temperatures, otherwise known as global warming. This ripples into altered precipitation patterns, frequency of extreme weather events such as Hurricane Beryl, and a rising sea levels. The soft yellow trail of the dress and itself outfitted with pollutants are riddled with the causes of climate change, such as chemical fertilizers, forest fires, and the emission of carbon dioxide by large industrial factories, methane emissions by poultry, livestock, and the amassing of environmental pollutants such as plastics, newspapers, and bottle covers, to mention a few. Measures must be taken to combat climate change in the form of climate action. Let's clean up the beaches, rivers, and the environment. Let's practice organic farming. This degradation is now removed, and the inner skirt of the dress is exposed to represent a magnificent green village. This occurs when you and I, individuals responsible to end climate change. The river is delivered, clean from all its pollutants, and runs pure and fresh throughout the motherland. Reforestation is engaged, for if we lose the world's forests, we lose the fight against climate change. Alternative energy sources such as solar and wind power are implemented and utilized, and environmental cleanup is perfectly illustrated and executed by Miss David. A beautiful, clean, supreme river flows through a floral garden, attractively situated at the helm of the dress that depicts the absorption of carbon dioxide during photosynthesis that helps to reduce greenhouse gases. Her face, decorated artistically, depicts the world as it returns to its purest state, where sea levels return to normalcy and are no longer roaring and raging, supported by the use of renewable energy and the termination of CO2 pollution in the atmosphere. The headpiece, beautifully crafted, represents reforestation that would significantly requested carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, improving air and water quality, while the hand accessory also represents the recycling of waste, plastics, and alternative renewable energy. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, our representative from the Ministry of National Mobilization, Ms. Swaleen David.
Setting: the small living room quarters of a one-bedroom home in Walvaroo. Time 8 p.m. Date Tuesday 1st June 2025. Come now, man, babe. Turn down the movie straw. Let me hear the API news. Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Dr. Rav Gonsalve, has reiterated that Vincentians must be vigilant as the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season has begun. In his address to the nation on June 1st, Dr. Gonsalve stressed that with an above-average season comprising 13 to 19 named storms, approximately 6 to 10 of which are expected to become hurricanes, and 3 to 5 of these major hurricanes, the onus is on Vincentians to address whatever vulnerabilities there are and take necessary precautions. 13 to 19 named storms, babe. We could handle another disaster in this country. Watch the roof. Watch your mother roof in bottom tongue. Ms. Catherine De Freitas, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Services, other permanent secretaries and heads of department, civil servants, Lion Sharon Williams, Membership Chair, Lion Suwan Monas Moses, judges, sponsors, participants, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This evening, I'm here to parlay on the topic, disaster mitigation is extremely challenging and perhaps an impossible notion for small island states. The United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Management describes disaster management as a systematic process that uses organizations and directives to implement procedures and policies to lessen the adverse effect and the possibility of disaster. The same office describes small island states as a group of low-lying nations across more than 1,000 islands, many of which lie in the Caribbean. Mr. Chairman, consider this. NADMA in Grenada reported that Hurricane Ivan of 2004 caused an estimated damage of $815 million. NEPO in Dominica reported Hurricane Maria of 2017 caused an estimated damage of $1.3 billion. NEMO here reported approximately $1 billion Eastern Caribbean dollars worth of losses due to damages from Hurricane Thomas in 2010, Matthew in 2014, the Lasso Frere volcano eruptions in 2021, and Beryl of 2024. My friends, aren't these astonishing figures? How do we recover these billions and then find more money for disaster risk management? I stand before you today not to sow seeds of despair, but to confront a reality that often gets overlooked in global forums. Firstly, small island states operate on tight national budgets. For government, every dollar spent on mitigation is a dollar less for health care, education, and basic services. The University of Alaska disclosed that their HARP program, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, studies the ionosphere, which is the upper region of the Earth's atmosphere. They temporarily excite the ionosphere and then observe the resulting effects. But are they merely conducting research, or are they manipulating the weather to create storms and floods? Ladies and gentlemen, remember Dubai. Our precious nations face a cruel paradox. We contribute the least to climate change, yet we suffer the most when nature strikes back. Like the picture that went viral here last year after heavy rains, when a creature was seen floating across the waters on a slipper. When it comes to natural disaster, not even a rat is safe in this country. Despite all these realities, I stand firmly on the notion that disaster risk management is not an impossible task for small island states. In an Eyewitness News just last week, our Prime Minister stated, and I quote, "Government can mobilize 120 million for hurricane response," end of quote. But why response? Can't these funds be used for mitigation and preparedness rather than response? Recovery can be agonizingly slow, and when this happens, victims suffer. Primarily, global solidarity is dying. Wealthier nations will not even consider climate justice, much more debt relief. CARICOM, through SIDEMA, has the potential to pool its resources and establish a disaster risk management fund for its existing member states. Furthermore, islanders need to be prepared when warnings are given. Is God a Vinci? On this note, I wish to sing the praises of geologist Professor Richard Richardson and his team of the UE Seismic Center, who sounded the alarm and was able to place this country in evacuation mode 24 hours prior to the eruption. That, Mr. Chairman, is what we call professional disaster risk management. Ladies and gentlemen, clock that. As a predominant nation, prayer should sincerely go up on behalf of our nations against these catastrophic disasters. Matthew 8:27 says, "But the men marveled, saying, What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the seas obey him?" Additionally, government ministries need to enforce planning regulations and building codes, especially for new construction projects, ensuring that they are stable and can withstand the effects of disaster. Moreover, the sand mining on our beaches need to be stopped and fines imposed on the litter bugs among us. Fortunately, Mr. Chairman, the Ministry of National Mobilization, the ministry I proudly represent today, through its permanent secretary, serves as the chair on the subcommittee for disaster preparedness at NEMO. Our ministry is the right hand, part and parcel of NEMO. And as we speak, I repeat, as we speak, there are facilitators currently out there educating families on disaster risk management, among other topics. With all things considered, when at-risk islands support each other before a disaster, all things are possible. Babe, why is she still in that bank with that gun? Man, let me watch something else. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
That was Ms. Swalen David from the Ministry of National Mobilization. All right, moving quickly ahead. Next is going to be Ms. All right, just going to wait a while. Ms. Jackson, we ready? Oh, we're not ready. Okay. Just going to wait a little bit while the officials get the results from the judges so far. I want to also remind you that after the impromptu, we're going to have entertainment by the Ministry of the Public Service Choir. Looking forward to that. I also want to mention that we're going to invite 3 persons from the audience to participate in the impromptu as well. Same rules apply. Lots of wonderful gifts to be won. Everybody's going to win. Everyone that participates is going to win a prize, I've been told. Maybe some malts, I don't know. But definitely looking forward to that. Go ahead. Ms. Jackson, are you ready? Excuse me, you pick up a left one. All right, welcome Miss Chanel Hardaway. Sorry, yes, Miss Chanel Hardaway from the Ministry of Legal Affairs. First bell.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges and guardians of our planet, I stand before you not just to present a costume, but to unveil a symbol, Lady Justice, legal guardian of the earth. She is not blind to the suffering of our planet. Upon her brow rests a green lifted blindfold, a call to see the climate crisis for what it is, clear, present, and devastating. Justice, in this moment, must not turn a blind eye. It must observe, understand, and act. Lady Justice's scales, no longer balanced, tilt under the weight of inequality. On one side, a coconut-crafted Amazon gill dinghy, our national parrot, surrounded by hurricanes, wildfires, and rising seas. On the other, industries, emissions, revenue earning, and unchecked consumption. This is climate injustice personified and a plea for legal redress. Guided by Target 13.2 of the Sustainable Development Goals, which mandates the integration of climate measures into national policies and strategies, this costume by Olive Art Designs is more than fashion. It is law in motion. The very fabric of this design was born from our policies: recycling, banning of plastic bags, and nurturing a circular economy. From shoulder armor of profit and pollution to cotton-draped leaves and shells that honor ocean resilience, each element is a legal and ecological statement. The green tie-dye fabric, flowing and breathable, speaks of environmental protection, renewal, and hope. The vines, once plastic bags, have been reborn, and the branches, once newspaper, now carry messages of life. Her earrings, crafted from aluminium leaves by Afrobean Designs, shimmer as emblems of innovation and sustainable artistry. And above all, she stands beneath a green umbrella adorned with the laws of our land, region, and globe, each one a shield for Mother Nature. At the summit of it all, the apex of her authority, the gavel, it reminds us that laws are only as powerful as their enforcement. Without the gavel, without justice, there can be no climate victory. So today, I present to you not merely a costume, but a conscience, a courtroom, and a call to action. This is Lady Justice, legal guardian of the earth. May her voice be our verdict and her presence our promise. Thank you.
Ms. Catherine De Freitas, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Service. Other permanent secretaries and heads of departments. Civil servants. Lion, Sharon Williams, Membership Chair. Lion, Sumona Moses. Judges, sponsors, participants, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, greetings. Can a country legislate rising seas? Can a legal system erect high enough walls to stop hurricanes? For small island developing states, SIDS, disaster risk mitigation is not merely challenging, it's borderline impossible. The United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction defines disaster risk mitigation as, and I quote, systematic efforts to analyze and manage causal factors of disasters, including reduced exposure, lessened vulnerability, and improved preparedness. But I wonder, how does one reduce exposure when an entire island nation is the exposure? Let us imagine a courtroom. In the dock stands climate change, an invisible perpetrator, yet one whose trail of destruction is undeniable. The accusers, a handful of island nations battered by hurricanes, droughts, rising seas. The evidence is irrefutable, but where is the justice to enforce? Disasters are not natural, yet the mathematics of vulnerability reveal a devastating pattern. In Grenada, Hurricane Ivan claimed 39 lives and caused $9 million in damages. Hurricane Maria inflicted losses equivalent to 226% of Dominica's GDP. St. Vincent and the Grenadines exemplifies the impossible arithmetic. The La Soufrière 2021 eruption displaced 2,000 residents, turned schools into shelters, and blanketed communities in ash. Last year, Hurricane Beryl caused damage equal to 22% of our annual GDP, displacing approximately 1,600 Vincentians. A year later, recovery remains incomplete, but yet the hurricane season is here once again. The Global Risk Report 2025 identifies the Caribbean's 5 major risks for the next decade as entirely environmental, with extreme weather events doubling annually. As Caribbean diplomat Sir Ronald Sanders stated, for small island states, a single hurricane can wipe out decades of development in one day. These are no longer abstract events. These are our lived realities. The core issues lie in an unenforceable international legal framework. While the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction guides national strategy, implementation remains uneven for SIDS. The Rio Declaration's principle of common but differentiated responsibilities acknowledges that developed nations are most responsible for this crisis. Yet, support for SIDS remains fragmented, voluntary, and unreliable. Without binding international financial support, mitigation efforts are but noble aspirations, ones that assume national capacity and resources that SIDS often do not possess. As Prime Minister Dr. Ralphie Gonsalves stated, the global response resembles going up a down escalator, highlighting the inequity of the political current economy. Despite these daunting odds, St. Vincent and the Grenadines took concrete legal steps. On the SDG 13 climate action, we enacted the Environmental Health, Control of Disposable Plastics Regulation. Tackling plastic pollution, we amended the Building Regulations 2019, and we introduced Environmental Impact Assessment Regulations 2025, emphasizing infrastructure resilience. These efforts, though commendable, highlight the fundamental inadequacy of national responses to global threats. We must restructure international law. A paradigm shift is required. It must be from a voluntary cooperation to transnational, legally binding obligations. I propose an international risk mitigation authority with jurisdiction over climate vulnerable SIDS, which would be empowered to coordinate global responses and mandate technological and financial support. We must enshrine a new legal right, the right to territorial and cultural existence, compelling states to prevent, not merely respond to, the disappearance of vulnerable nations. Be proactive, not reactive. In December 2024, representing SVG, I presented this very argument before the International Court of Justice in one of the most significant climate cases, which included submissions from over 100 nations. The judgment is pending. The legal profession carries both professional and moral responsibilities. Pro bono representation, it is not charity. It is justice. It is precedent. As Kofi Annan said, we shall not defeat any of the ills that plague humanity unless we solve them together. If law cannot defend the vulnerable, what is it defending? Treating SIDS mitigation as merely domestic responsibility is to manage extinction and not prevent it. The choice is stark: condemn SIDS to disappearance or forge a new global legal system where the impossible becomes inevitable. I choose the latter. Will you join me?
Thank you very much. That was Ms. Chanel Holloway from the Ministry of Legal Affairs. And that was the end of that segment, the main speech segment. We're going to go straight ahead into the impromptu section of this program. We're going to invite a representative from the Lions Club, and we're going to also continue with the order of appearance. First will be, no, it's impromptu. That's correct. First is going to be Miss Sam, not calling that name. Miss Sam from Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development. She'll be choosing a topic there. Remember, she has 1 minute to contemplate. Yes, 1 minute to contemplate, and then 2 minutes. All right? Miss Sam has chosen going up in the countryside. Going up in the countryside. She has 1 minute in which to contemplate this topic.
I don't know what's all right here.
Good afternoon once again. It is quite interesting that I've been given the topic, growing up in the countryside, because I am a proud country girl. I grew up in Georgetown on the northeastern side of this country, and there are many advantages of growing up on the countryside. Growing up on the countryside, you're more in touch with nature. You're able to just go into your backyard and to pick a fruit and enjoy that. You have the opportunity to play marbles, to get involved in the things that are traditional. Because whereas on the town side, a lot of people are not really engaged in these type of activities. You have the community spirit where everybody come together. You have the opportunity to go over to your neighbor and say, "Yeah, give me a plum day." You get to ask them for anything and they give you willingly, because that's how people live on the countryside. There are some advantages, because people think because you're from the countryside that you don't have an excellent command of the English language. I've had that challenge where people would say that, "I know you're from Georgetown," because normally you speak well. So there are advantages of growing up on the countryside, while there are disadvantages. But standing before you today is a proud country girl. I am happy that I had the privilege of growing up on the countryside.
Hold on, huh? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Ms. Sam. We're going to have Mr. Keith O'Neill from the Audit Department now. He's going to select. His topic is a model public servant. A model public servant. He has 1 minute in which to contemplate and present. 2 minutes.
Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. A public servant is someone who serves their country and people in the public service. Speaking on the topic, a model public servant is something that should be easy as pie for many of us, as some of us have worked in the service for a great many years. A model public servant should be someone who teaches with integrity. A model public servant is someone who should always be there, passing on knowledge to the younger generation. A model public servant is someone like our recently retired Director of Audit, Mrs. Joan Brown. Many of you know her, who has served over at least 42 years in the public service. We now have another model public servant in our Martina Prince. We also have, from my personal experience when working in the Customs and Excise Department, Mr. Linford James, who to me was the best comptroller that place has ever seen. I love that man even up to today for his teachings and his passion as a public servant. I want to be a model public servant, and I think I am. Because there are many people who I have taught, many persons who still come and say to me, boy, I really like the way you move and how you do this. A model public servant should not just be me, should not just be the older heads, should not just be you in the crowd, but every single public servant who is working in our government departments around the country. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That was Mr. Keith O'Neill from the Audit Office. Next up is going to be Mr. Keanu Providence of the Ministry of Finance. Topic is tariff, T-A-R-I-F-F, tariff. That's it. You have 1 minute.
Lord, I just buy this bag of rice last week and it done gone up to $3.50 a pound. What is this? Ladies and gentlemen, my topic this afternoon is tariffs. Now, a lot of you in the audience might be asking, what is a tariff? Now, a tariff is a piece of legislation that a government pass that impacts the prices of goods that are imported into a country. Ladies and gentlemen, tariffs have many impacts on our day-to-day lives across this country. It impacts our ability to buy goods. It impacts our ability in able to purchase wants that we may not necessarily need for everyday living. But it benefits some countries, the greedy ones, like the United States of America, with their leader, Donald Trump, who continues to affect our Caribbean nations. They continue to impact our country by putting on these tariffs and costing our daily citizens more and more heartache, having to go by the supermarket and knowing that they want to purchase something but have to put it down because they're unable to buy it. Ladies and gentlemen, this example of the President Donald Trump teaches us that we have to be wise when selecting our leaders because our leaders have day-to-day impacts on our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, tariffs cannot break us. We have to go out and find other ways of breaking the tariffs and not letting the tariffs break us. So my message today to you is the prices might go up, but your hope and your faith should rise with the prices. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
That was Mr. Keanu Providence from the Ministry of Finance. Next, we're going to have Ms. Swaylene David from the Ministry of National Mobilization. All right, just want to remind you guys, right, just in case anybody has a phone that is set to ring. Yeah. A phone, keep it on vibrate. Please. The topic is Football World Cup. Football World Cup. She has 1 minute in which to contemplate.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Football World Cup. Football World Cup, well, as we know, the definition of football is a friendly game played by different countries across the world that come together and they play football. Now, in recent times, St. Vincent and the Grenadines would have taken part in 2 friendly games at the Annisville playing field, and the team in St. Vincent and the Grenadines won by 6-1. We remember that friendly game at Annisville, right? Okay. So it's a sport that mostly men play, and as I would have said before, different countries come together and participate in this World Cup. There are prizes to be won for your participation, and yes, as I said before, there are prizes to be won for your participation, and most countries come out and support their players in this game and represent their country. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you. That was Ms. Swaylene David from the Ministry of National Mobilization. Next up is Ms. Chanel Hathaway from Ministry of Legal Affairs. Dressing for work. Dressing for work.
what you wear. Do you agree with that statement? It is something for us to think about. For work attire, some may say it should be modest, it should be long, but I would say it's dependent on your job. For instance, let's take someone who is a VINLEC worker, a linesman. You do not expect him to be dressed like a judge. It is inappropriate. For your workwear, it goes beyond the physical clothing. It goes beyond the dress, the shirt, the jacket. You have to be mentally prepared. You have to dress your mind. You have to be mentally dressed for work. What does that mean? You have to be professional. You have to have the expertise in whatever your area of work may be. As a lawyer, I have to have my legal frameworks right there at the tip of my hands. Or a doctor, how should he be dressed for work? He has to have his medical expertise in relation to his dressing for work. I would say dressing for work is required to ensure that your work is efficiently and effectively done. Do not let your clothes define you. Your work is what defines you. Your skill is what defines you. When you dress for work, it must be appropriate. It must be efficient.
Thank you. That was Ms. Chanel Hathaway from the Ministry of Legal Affairs. I want to say, and I'm sure you guys too want to say well done to all the participants who would have participated in this year's public speaking competition. You certainly did an excellent, excellent job. But in the spirit of impromptu speeches, remember I mentioned earlier on that we're going to invite 3 persons from the audience. Normally a very good event. Any 3 persons can come up involved in an impromptu speech. Same 2 minutes, same thing, same criteria as the participants. After which we're going to have entertainment by the public service choir. Looking forward to doing that. And then we're going to have some brief remarks by some of the sponsors, vote of thanks, and finally the presentation of the awards. So I'm putting the challenge out there for those who want to come up. Any takers? Just come up. 1. Is somebody's going to come up? Just come at the front. All right. No? Yes? Ms. Jackson, are you coming? No? Okay. All right. Going once. Okay, we're still waiting. Woo! Boop, boop, boop. All right. And your name is? Miss Wanika Ashton from GSCI St. Vincent. Hold on, hold on. Is there any more? Just one more person? 2 more persons? Just one? Yeah, friendly fire. Gonna come? Just come up here. All right, Jackie. This is, what's her name? Miss Jackie English Jacobs from Toastmaster or Tourism? Tourism Authority. So we have 2 participants. Going once. Anybody else for the third? Okay, no. All right, so it's going to be Ms. Jacobs first, right? Yeah. All right, same 1 minute to contemplate the topic, and then the 2 minutes. All the best. Spiritual Baptist. Spiritual Baptist.
All protocols previously established. Good evening, everyone. Spiritual Baptists. Spiritual Baptists come from a religion known as spiritual baptism that is long ingrained in our ancestral history here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and across member Caribbean states. It is said to be one of the longest, if not the longest, serving religions known to our culture. Spiritual Baptists, also known as Shaker Baptists, in some other forms of names, they have influences deeply rooted in our culture, delving from slavery. This religion would have turned oppression into optimism while mixing our ancestral practices with modern-day innovation and revitalization. I am proud to say that I would have been a part of experiencing the revitalization of spiritual Baptists and spiritual baptism right here on my Vincentian soil. Spiritual Baptists had the privilege of having their own holiday initiated last year of August and fully commemorated and liberated this year, May 21st, 2025, where they celebrate their freedom to worship alongside all other denominations here within this country. When I hear spiritual baptism, I hear strength, resilience, and I hear Vinci. Thank you.
That was Wanika Ashton. Next contestant. The next topic is hairstyles. Hairstyles. You have 1 minute to contemplate.
Ladies and gentlemen, look around the room and admire and applaud the various hairstyles that you are seeing, including mine. I will even give you a review of my hairdo. Would you agree or disagree that your hair is your beauty? I am seeing from your faces that most of you agree, and also from your hair do's. I agree, reason being that most of the times when I cut my hair in a fancy hairdo, I get a lot of compliments such as, "You look 10 years younger." And that's why I cut my hair every 10 years. As a Toastmaster, we have to engage in humor speeches, and sometimes when I'm presenting those speeches, I actually do my hair to fit the speech. For instance, if I want my audience to associate with my jokes, I put in a clown hairstyle. However, I did not know I would be here with you today, so I did not wear my clown hairdo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Round of applause for the two impromptu participants. Okay. I'm not sure. Do we want to decide on a winner now for these two participants? It's going to be from a show of hands. All right. I get that the choir wants to go home and wants to sing pretty well, right? But from a show of hands, contestant number 1. All those in favor? All right. Contestant number 2. All right. Contestant number 1 is the winner. Thank you very much, contestant number 2. I think it was your gifts, I'm sure, will be organized after, but I think there are quite a bit of gifts over there. You'll be able to get some of it. And I'm sure for both participants will get gifts. Okay, without further ado, I want to invite the public service choir to entertain us while we wait a little bit for the tabulation of the results, and then we'll hear from the sponsors and go straight into the awards. We'll welcome the public service choir. I've been told that they are available for Yeah, just to note, right? The choir is made up of 43 persons, including the musicians. So everybody is not reflected here. All right, so it's a massive choir. There's a mic here, yeah?
God, He is my protection. God, my God, He is. He's my all in all. God, He is my light in darkness. God, ooh, my God, He is my all in all. And God, He is. He's my joy. He's my joy in time of sorrow. And God, my God, He is. He's my all in all. God, He is my today and is my tomorrow. God, whoa, my God, He is my all in all. Ooh, God is the joy and the strength of my life. He removes all pain, misery, and strife. He promised to keep me, never to leave me, never fall short of His word. I'm gonna bless and praise Him in this narrow way. Keep my life clean every day. Every day. I wanna go with Him when He comes back. Oh, I've come too far and I never turn back. God is. God is. Yes, He is. God is. My help for today. Yes. God is. He is my all in all. Yes, He's my joy. God is the joy and the strength of my life. And He removes all pain, misery, and strife. Oh, He promised to keep me, never to leave me, never fall short of His word. I'm gonna bless and praise Him in this narrow way. Keep my life clean every day. I wanna go with Him when He comes back. I've come too far and I'll never turn back. God is, yes He is. God is, yes He is. God is my help in time of trouble. Oh, God, He is my all in all. Yeah. Oh, He's my joy. God is the joy and the strength of my life. And He removes all pain, misery, and strife. Yes, He promised me. He promised me. He promised never fall to never fall short. I'm gonna bless and praise Him in this narrow way. I'll keep my life clean every day. I wanna go with Him when He comes back. Oh, I've gone with Him and I'll never turn back. God is, yes He is. God is my strength for today. God is my joy for tomorrow. Woo.
think we all pretty sure now that God is their own. Well done. All right, we're going to, because I know you guys are eagerly awaiting the announcement of the winners, but before we do that, I want to invite the representative from the Bank of SVG to give a few words. I hope. Thank you. Good.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First, let me say that there's real talent on display in this room today. From the singing to the speeches, it's very impressive. And BOSVG is very happy to be here. Let me adopt the established protocols and say that the team from Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines are really happy to be able to partner with the Ministry of Public Service, Consumer Affairs and Sports during this week of activity, and in particular for this public speaking event, which brings such an important topic into focus. The topic for this year of disaster risk mitigation being extremely challenging and perhaps even an impossible notion for small island states is quite a thought-provoking one. And while it's a mouthful, it also reflects a reality that we face every day in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But before I delve any further into that, I just want a moment to sincerely thank all the participants for their thoughtful presentations and the creative way that they were able to interpret and express themselves on this very complex and relevant topic. The creative category was also quite entertaining and informative, as were the impromptu speeches, even from the public. So I think they really definitely deserve a round of applause for a job well done. Right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we don't need to look very far to see the real-life impact of disaster risk. We live it, and as was mentioned in the speeches, we lived it through the volcano in 2021, the hurricane that we recently had in 2024, and of course the global shock of COVID-19, which was a disaster of a different type. So these events, whether they're localized or global, have something in common. They remind us of how vulnerable small island states are and how urgent it is that we invest in forward-thinking risk management, preparedness, and resilience, even when the odds seem stacked against us. As a bank that is deeply rooted in the community, Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines realizes that risk mitigation is not just the responsibility of the government. It's a national effort and one that we proudly support. As the largest financial institution in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we understand our role and that it goes further than just banking, but it involves empowering our people, fostering awareness, and strengthening national resilience. And that is why we have invested heavily in education of both our customers and staff. We've made also significant investments in robust cybersecurity and resilience planning. And of course, we contribute financially to recovery efforts where possible because we believe in leading by example. By safeguarding our operations and supporting national initiatives, BOSVG is helping to build a more informed, prepared, and disaster-resilient SVG. And of course, through our rigorous staff training and strong business continuity measures, we ensure that we are prepared to serve even in times of disruption. And I'm quite sure that you would agree with me that we do have a good resumption time during these disruptions, especially for our face-to-face service. Of course, the digital platforms takes a little bit longer because we are dependent on third parties to bring those back up. But I am sure I remember that when the volcano erupted, I was at work, and then the following morning when I was still there at home wondering how to clean out all the ashes from the crevices, every crevice of my home, I got a call to report for work because night bags needed to be counted and customers needed access to their funds. The same was true for Beryl, and we worked all the way through COVID. Because at BOSVG, we don't just understand our role in times of crisis, we live it. And showing up for the nation is not just our job, it's our calling, it's our conviction, and it will be our legacy. But as we've learned time and again, resilience is not about working in isolation, but it comes from building a network of support, sharing knowledge, and learning from one another. And in times of crisis, collective strength of the community is what carries us through. So as we listen to these talented young persons speak today, we are reminded that the future of disaster risk mitigation will be shaped not by one generation, but by all of us. The passion and vision of our youth are sparks of hope, but lasting resilience demands strength, wisdom, and the action of every citizen, every institution, and every community. So in conclusion, on behalf of Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Limited, we are truly honored to be one of the main sponsors for this event and to support the next generation of public speakers. Thank you all for your passion, for your dedication, and your powerful voices. At BOSVG, we believe that together, we are not just supporting future leaders, we are helping to ignite a movement of change makers who will shape a brighter, stronger, and a more resilient future for our nation. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the representative from the Bank of SVG. And we're also going to have just a few remarks from the representative from MASA, Mr. Stapleton. Mr. Stapleton.
Public speaking is in good hands. And we want to congratulate all the winners that is before you here today. Listen, it isn't very easy to come up here and speak, you know. What they did today, I feel so proud of them. And you as well should feel very proud of them representing the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Today, I represent MASA. MASA, the acronym stands for Medical Air Services Association. Or some people would say we are the air ambulance in the sky, the hospital in the sky. And when I thought about our session today, as it pertains to climate change, I want to remind you that medical emergency is like the weather. You never know when, where, or who is going to be the next person to suffer a medical emergency. But the big question is, are you prepared? Are you ready in the event that you suffer a medical emergency? I want to say this to you. The last experience we had in this country left me very, 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 very sad. A young lady in the comfort of her home, beautiful young lady, she was cooking and a gas bottle blew up. And in a matter of days, she found herself in the hospital struggling to stay alive. She needed to be flown out of here in order to save her life. But unfortunately, she was not a part of MASA. She could not have gotten a free flight out of here like some of you who I recognize are MASA members. And guess where she is now? She's in the graveyard. She's no longer with us because she did not make that decision to become a member of the Life-Saving MASA Air Ambulance Association. I want to encourage you all. Many of you have kids. Many of you have kids. And I want to encourage you to make sure that you put the protection in place so that in the event that your kids have to suffer a medical emergency, they have an opportunity to be flown out of here and get the help that they need. So, I want to end as I started. It is better to be safe than to be sorry. Join MASA Air Ambulance Association today.
Thank you, Mr. Stapleton, for that plug. Okay, we're almost there. I want to call Mr. Elvis Charles to give the vote of thanks, and I'm sure Mr. Charles will just remind us of all the activities remaining for the rest of the week. All right, and then we'll get straight into the presentation of awards.
We would really like to thank everyone who has made it possible for this afternoon's activity. So, please bear with me because we are really happy that you came on board with us. We want to thank Ms. Shallow for that opening word of prayer and thank our own P.S. De Freitas for addressing you and for giving you a little more insight as to the work of the Ministry of the Public Service and in particular the PSRU. I want to thank the 3 judges. I would say I don't grudge you at all. As I said to Commander Kane, judging, you have to concentrate so hard, you have to be spot on. And I really want to thank you 3, Mrs. Michelle Forbes, Mr. Elroy John, and Mr. Brenton Commander Kane for partnering with us. And I'm certain you are going to be pleased in the end when you hear about their decisions. The competitors, you're brave, you're smart, and I'm glad you did not place me. I was not placed in that uncomfortable position of choosing ultimate winners. Mr. Keith O'Neill from the Audit Office, Mr. Kino Providence from the Ministry of Finance, Ms. Shernell Hathaway, Ministry of Legal Affairs, Ms. Swillian David, National Mobilization, etc., and Ms. Ashisha Sam. We want to thank you for accepting the challenge. Thank you, timekeeper and your assistant, Lion Sharon Williams and Lion Simona Moses. We want to thank the auditor, Mr. Chrislan Hoyt, Video Eastern Caribbean, and Toastmasters director and coaches, Andrew De Silva, Jackie English, Keisha Johnson, Sinclair Stapleton, Shirley Matthews, Alisa Kirby. They have been working with us year after year, the Toastmasters, as we say, in bringing these contestants up to speed. Lions Club of St. Vincent South, Mr. Junior Bacchus, who can be looked at as Mr. PSRU. He's always there whenever we call on him. Simona Moses, we want to really thank you. How can we forget our list of sponsors? These institutions made it certain that our activity could be a success this afternoon. And I really want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I want to convey that from the other members of the PSRU, and in particular the Ministry of the Public Service. Lions Club St. Vincent South, Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We grow together, the bank that gives you more. National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, the NTRC. Flow, Massa. We fly you out when you're sick. Jarrick St. Vincent Limited. Toastmaster Club St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we mentioned a few before, but we just want to say to you that we are looking forward again for next year when you would be in our corner. Jack's Enterprise Limited, C.K. Graves and Company, Eastern Caribbean Group of Companies, National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO. How can we forget you? Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDMA, European Union, National Disaster Facility in the CARIFORUM Program, BDO Eastern Caribbean. And if I have missed any, I just want to say, lastly, the Public Service Choir. I believe they have some of the best voices in this land. And I'm already sharpening up my voice to join that choir. Yeah. God is so good. Amen. So thank you, and I want to thank the audience for being here with us, and members of the media for carrying our program. We have that. I'm certain many of you are going back home and you're going to look at it on YouTube and look at the replays, and you're going to be your own judges again. Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Thank you, Brother Charles. God bless you too, brother. Okay, now is the business end of stuff. But before we get into that, I just want to invite the two participants that took part in the impromptu. I want to invite Miss Jackie English Jacobs, and I also want to invite the Director of the Public Service, Mrs. Jackson, to present these awards. Thank you very much, Ms. Jacobs. Well done, Jackie. And our winner, Miss Wanika Ashton. Well done to Miss Wanika Ashton again. Thank you, Miss Ashton. All right. Now we're going to, well, before we list the category winners, we want to present the appearance fees. We're going to invite the representative from Bank of SVG to present to each participant $250 as appearance fees. $240, yes, sorry, my apologies. And I also want to invite again Mr. Sinclair Stapleton. Mr. Sinclair Stapleton has decided to donate a bottle of Levy Green dietary supplement to each participant. Thank you again, Mr. Sinclair Stapleton. Miss Achisia Sam? I'd given up before, so I'll give up again. Miss Sam? Just in front there. Miss Sam from the Ministry of Tourism certainly did a good job. All the participants did an amazing job today. Mr. Keith O'Neill, sorry, from the Audit Office. Yeah. Yeah, I've been told that the bottle costs $175. It's a big gift from Mr. Stapleton. All right. Mr. Keith O'Neill. Well done. All right, just stay for your drink. As you've noticed, they're getting a goodie bag along with an umbrella. Mr. Keanu Providence from the Ministry of Finance. Ms. Swaleen David. Mr. Swaleen David from the Ministry of National Mobilization, Social Development, Family Gender Affairs. And finally, Ms. Chanel Hadaway from the Ministry of Legal Affairs. Thank you very much, the representative from BOSVG, and thank you very much, Mr. Sinclair Stapleton. All right, we now will go into the category winners. Let me just remind you that there is only going to be a first place winner for each category. We had 3. Oh, certificate. Jackson? Sorry, I have to ask you to come up again because you'll be presented with a certificate from the Ministry of Public Service. Bank of SPG? Oh. Yes, Ms. Sam. Much appreciation for the work of the Ministry of Public Service and Ms. Sam for participating. Just to let you know that during the preparation period for this event, the Ministry of the Public Service, their staff, they're always very enthusiastic. They work with a lot of energy and look forward to this week of activities. So a lot of credit must go to them for being able to organize these activities, especially with the passion that they normally exhibit in the office. Often very difficult to get things done sometimes because they're so exuberant to the noise. But good work. All right. Oh boy. Okay, the creative wear, the winner of the creative wear will receive $600 from the Bank of SVG, plus $300 from the representative from CK Graves. I'm hoping that representative is here. And a voucher from Massa, again, Mr. Stapleton. That voucher is worth $550. It's a year's plan from Massa. Another. Okay, I've been corrected. 810 EC dollars. That's the value of the Massa plan. That for 1 year. So according to that plan, if you get sick and you need to be flown out, Massa would be there to assist for 1 year. That's correct. And that plan is worth $820. All right. with 52 points. From the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Keanu Providence. Yeah. Jackson. Jackson. All right, thank you. From Graves, Ms. Jackson will present the Okay, I want to present the winners of the main topic. I made a boo-boo earlier on with the creative where I was supposed to call the third, second, and first position. My apologies for that. The second position in the creative wear was Miss Sam with 45 points. I was second. And third was Miss Chanel Hadaway and Miss Swaleen David. That was a tie for third position, 42 points. All right, and Mr. Keaton Neal came in fifth with 40 points. All right. For the main topic, in the third position with 110 points from the audit office, Mr. Keith O'Neill. Third position, Mr. Keith O'Neill. Second position with 119 points, Mr. Keanu Providence from the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology. Let me just remind everybody that judging in itself is quite difficult, so we want to thank all the judges for the work that they would have done. Secondly, the rules were laid out clearly, where there was a time, with the penalties and so forth, which the judges had to be mindful of, and of course content and the other necessary items that the judges had to be aware of. So we thank you for your work. Very astute. Thank you. So, to continue, I mentioned the third, so I'm at second, correct? Okay, second first. Okay, second position for the main topic. Main topic, 50 points, that's what I'm talking about. Second position, I mentioned Mr. Keanu Providence right? And, oh boy. There were three persons who, no? Okay. Yes. Second position, three persons tied for second. Three persons tied for second. Right. This is for the main topic. We're talking about categories, right? For the main topic, categories. Keanu Providence, Swaleen, and Miss Sam. 119 points. 119 points. All right. First position for the main topic, which is 120 points, 1 point extra, is Miss Chanel Hadaway from the Ministry of Legal Affairs. Miss Chanel Hadaway will receive $600 from the Bank of SVG. a fire extinguisher from Jarek St. Vincent. And another voucher from Massa. Fire extinguisher being presented by Jarek St. Vincent. You have to also collect. Did you collect the award from Massa? Yes, you did. Okay, good. For the impromptu topic, that was judged, that's 30 points. In fourth position, with a total of 61 points, Miss Chanel Hathaway. Impromptu from the Ministry of Legal Affairs. Fourth, Miss Chanel Hathaway. In third position, with points of 62 points, Miss Sam from the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation and Sustainable Development. In second position, with 70 points, Mr. Keith O'Neill from Audit Office, 70 points. And with in the first position, from the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Keanu Providence. Mr. Keanu Providence will also receive $600 from BOSVG, plus $300 again from Mr. Stapleton, and a Massa plan, 1 year's Massa plan. Okay, for the final results, Mrs. Jackson, are we ready? All right. In fifth position with 200, a total of 200. Third position, sorry. In third position with a total of 223. Total of 223 points is Miss Chanel Hathaway from the Ministry of Legal Affairs. Ms. Hathaway will receive one mobile phone from the representative of Flow. Round of applause for Ms. Chanel Hathaway. Total of 223 points. Thank you, Ms. Hathaway. Round of applause for Ms. Hathaway. In second position, with a total of 226 points, from the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development, Ms. Aschicia Sam. In second position. Ms. Sam will receive a mobile phone from Flo. All right, now for the winner. In the first position, you guys is joking. First position from the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Information, Mr. Keanu Providence. Well done to Mr. Keanu Providence. Got a total of 246 points. Mr. Providence, he will receive a laptop from the NTRC. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this public speaking competition. Mr. Providence, just collect. Mr. Providence will also receive a trophy and a challenge trophy. You see his support staff is firmly behind him from the Ministry of Finance. Well done to you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this competition. I want to thank you again on behalf of the Ministry of the Public Service for coming out. I want to also thank the participants for doing an amazing job. The sponsors, of course, the judges, everybody would have played a part in making sure that this is a success. Before we leave, though, we want to show some appreciation for the judges. So the judges will be presented with awards from the Ministry of the Public Service. Mr. John, Mr. Kane, and Ms. Forbes. I want to ask the Director of the Public Service, Mrs. Jackson, to present these awards to the judges. You're welcome. Judges will be presented with a hamper. Thank you very much to the judges. I want to pray that you get home safely. Thank you again for coming out. Travel home safely, and it's been a beautiful competition. Thank you. Yeah, man, well done, man.